Would anyone care to explain why a legendary lord of Kislev, one known for being a fierce defender of the very land they live in, a fierce protector of nature against the vile corruption of chaos, is instead in Lustria? I understand this world makes no sense at times, but this sounds even more unbelievable than the stories I keep hearing about the rat men.
Stories? I suggest you get on a boat one day, Carl, and take a trip here and see what your hunter has to say. But even I cannot make sense of it all. I may be mad, but not as mad as this old crone, it seems. To have abandoned her entire nation to its fate to do what?
She is there for Morathi.
What does Morathi have to do with this? The Dark Elves have never had a hand in Kislev at any point.
Long ago, when the world was still young and your races barely drew breath, a great war was waged across the world. During this war, a young raven-haired elven girl was rescued from the hands of demons by an old crone, old as the land itself, in the parts that you would now call the North. The crone took her in, raised her, taught her all that she knew and more. That girl became the Hag Queen, Morathi, and her mother has finally come to collect on the mighty debt she is owed, for to see your daughter fall into the vile clutches of Slaanesh has enraged her. That is why the Mother of Hags has sailed so far and sacrificed so much.
And you know of this how exactly?
I once danced with Morathi in the very heart of her power.
Danced? Do you mean to say that you...
There are many paths to vengeance, Emperor, and I will have my due against Malekith in any way I can.
Welcome everyone, Questine here with the discussion about Mother Ostankya in Shadows of Change DLC for Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires. And let's talk about her starting position over here in Lustria and why I think Creative Assembly decided to put her here. It's not for any lore reasons or anything of that particular nature. I think it has to do with the fact that with Forge of the Chaos Dwarves in particular, and in general in Total War, people have wanted diversity in their starting positions in the game. And that is why I think Creative Assembly has decided to put Ostankya in Lustria, or rather in Naggaroth, in southern Naggaroth, and have her face off against Morathi. Because what you're really doing is you're going to start over here from the Bleakhold Fortress, and then you're going to go against Morathi, because that is the most sensical course of action for you to take, and make an alliance with Mazdamundi. Then once you've done with that, you deal with the Sisters of Twilight, and then you get involved one way or another in the war over here between Alifanar, Malekith, and as well as Silustra, one way or another. And you do have various choices. And here's the thing, all of the terrain, and I think this also contributed to Creative Assembly's decision, but all of the terrain with the exception of the desert over here in the Red Desert is suitable climate for her to use, including the magical forest that the Sisters of Twilight do start in. And yes, you do want to wipe out the Sisters of Twilight because they make poor allies, and you can make a significant amount of money from sacking this particular settlement. That would be my logic. They probably felt, well, we can make a Kislev campaign and not really change anything about her climate suitability with the exception of magical forests, and it would work. Now, of course, it would have made a lot more sense from a lore perspective for them to have changed the terrain in Kislev, added a magical forest, if not multiple at least 2 magical forests in Kislev, and have Ostankya tied to those, or at the very least one would have made sense. Like they did that for Draika, just to understand that with the Griffin wood. Why couldn't they have done that for Kislev? That's a different discussion. Of course, this entire area of the campaign map is already crowded as is, and I've already seen in Realms of Chaos how for Cathay, because Jan Bo starts in Cathay in Realms of Chaos, how that ends up creating a lot of issues in the campaign. So there's already significant issues with the clutter that exists currently in Kislev. But what Kislev really needed was reterraining. But of course that probably would have involved a significant amount of work, as you probably would have had to change the shape of Norska as well in some way, shape, or form in order to redesign Kislev, maybe affect the Empire as well. I think that's the reason why Creative Assembly didn't do it, and so what they've done instead is they chose what they possibly considered one of the better approaches, which is they put Ostankya in Lustria, and they give her teleportation. So ultimately what you will end up doing in this campaign, what you should end up doing in this campaign, is you will eventually teleport to the Griffin Wood, fighting Draika, taking over the Ostermark, and then going to war in Kislev. Or against Kislev, if you so desire. But you are going to need to take control of those special cities if you want to get the ability to recruit the regular Kislev units. Crucially, Patriarchs are a very important thing for Ostankya to get her hands on, because one of the problems she has right now is the poor replenishment she does have in her campaign. So she does need Patriarchs. It's not too big of an issue, and I'm relatively close to being able to teleport to Kislev anyway by turn 20. So it's just really the early game that you'll be fighting without Patriarchs. I think that was what Creative Assembly was thinking, and why they ultimately made the decisions that they did with regards to this particular campaign. Kostin here, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more.